Thank you all for having me here. I'm actually feeling like I'm in a school the last couple of days. So much of learning. Firstly, I would like to thank all the organizers, especially Amar sir, who gave me this opportunity. So, what I'm going to talk about today is a nice journey that I'm going through. So, it all started in the second year of my undergraduation when I was diagnosed with a heart problem, and it took like a month to find out what was wrong with my heart. And then I was operated. I had to take a year off from my graduation, and then I came back to college, and then I had a stroke in 2015, and I had to take another year off, and it left me voiceless and limbless, and nobody gave me a chance. Nobody gave me a hope to really come back strong, and I had to read the newspaper every day to get the coordination between my eyes back, and there was this common thread that I found, and it was the Syrian civil war. And at that point in time, we were doing a lot of work in India, and the strange thought came to me that, why is all this happening? And one day, while reading the newspaper, I saw a teardrop fall on the page, and slowly I started weeping. And then my friend came up and said, "Look, you got to stop crying and start doing something. And you should be motivated to think that when you get well, you will come back strong and do something for them." And eventually, when I did get better, I traveled to the Syrian border, helping out people, reaching out to them. And I would just like to recount some of the things that happened there, landmines and everything. But most of us think that this place is scary, this place is like violent. All true, but there is a very beautiful side to it. There's a very human side to it. And I was meeting with all kinds of people. I don't know, good people, bad people. I think good and bad exist in only our dictionary, but in the eyes of love, right? Everything is the same. And there was this day, I was finally allowed to stay with them, and I was walking, and there was this family, and I had walked like close to 20 kilometers in the sand, and I had distributed food, and there was this boy with a plate and with one bun on top of it, and there were like 10 more children standing around the plate, and the elder of the family pushed all of these children away and said, "Look, there is somebody from India who's helping us," and I was serving them food. He said, "Let's feed him," and that was supposed to be their meal. And I said, how are 10 people going to eat this one piece of bun? And they were really hungry, but they were not fighting, and they were not falling on each other. This boy takes a knife, and he prays to Allah, and he starts cutting the bun into 10 pieces, and I'm already crying. And he gives each one piece, and he says, "Thank God and put it in your mouth. And this is your food till tomorrow morning." And they put it in the mouth, and this boy is holding his piece of bun in his hand. And I was just wondering why, when one small kid started crying, and he immediately turned and put the bun into that child's mouth with no hesitation, with nothing, because that was supposed to be his share of food, and it's a very small bun. And when I saw this, it deeply struck me, and I moved along with him. And that morning, the next morning, in fact, this boy is standing in the center of a circle, talking to 50 young boys and telling them very important things in Arabic. And I'm not understanding head or tail of what's going on, but everybody is paying attention. And it's like a morning scrum in Google, let's say, and this boy is addressing with such command. And I slowly went up, and I was allowed to be part of what he was saying. And what he said shocked me. He said, "Today we've got these many bottles of water," and it was like 4 or 5 bottles, like 4.5 if I'm not wrong, and they were like 500 ml bottles maybe, and they had to distribute it to so many people, and in glasses. And he was talking about how exactly they were going to distribute this, and he made a plan, he laid out the whole thing, and he prioritized people as to sick people, then children, then their mothers, and then the men. And when I saw these guys working, he's just 12 years old, and he's taking the responsibility of shouldering like 50 children under his wing. And he actually achieved what he wanted to achieve in 2 hours lesser than the time that he had thought about. When I saw that, I was just like blown away, and I started working with them, cleaning up the toilets and cleaning their tents, and I carried children on my back, moved them to safety. I remember one child was almost fainting off, and he had just come to know that his father is like no more, and he was out fighting the war, and he just nearly fainted. He hadn't eaten for 3 days, and I remember lifting this child on my back, and he was in a state of shock. He was in crying, nothing was happening, and what I sought to achieve there was move children to safety from the place. And they said this place wasn't safe, but they didn't know how to move themselves without food in hand. And I remember the first day when I entered and when I started giving food, and we suddenly saw a small boy with a football in his hand, partially inflated, and he came up to me, and I looked at him and said, "Why don't we play football here?" And and he was shocked. He said, "No, I can only admire the football. I cannot play it here because, it's a dangerous place to play." But I don't know what came over us, and we started playing, and soon it looked like a La Liga game with everybody watching. And there was this mother who came up to me, and she called me aside, and she said, "I have seen my children today eat after 3 days, but I'm seeing them smile after 3 full years." And that made my whole, that I felt my life was fulfilled by just that one statement. And I remember the next day when the car reached the Syrian border, I had to pass through multiple checkposts, and one lady comes and warns me about landmines being right next to me. And she was saying, if we die, it's okay. We die like every day, a lot of us, but we don't want somebody coming for us and dying. That's the level of, selflessness that I was seeing. And I remember that day I lifted a girl on my shoulder. We're just playing a game, and she put her mouth very close to my ear, and she said, and I quote what she said in broken English. She said, "You come next time, India, here." That's all that she said. And she said, "Promise." And I took a couple of minutes to make sense of what she said, and when it hit me that she wanted a promise that I would be back for them, I instantly gave it, but I was in for a shock because there were 25 more children who came and sat on my back and asked exactly the same question and got the promise. And what we started doing was we kind of got 200 more people of that area together, moved them to safety. And I remember on the flight back to India, I remember this incident where a little girl, when the sun was setting and they were rushing back to their tents, she looked at my eyes and she asked this question, "Do you also give food in India and serve the children there?" And that kind of we weren't doing much then. And then when I came back to India, I was narrating all this, and I came back to India and I lost my voice once more, and I lost my limbs again, and which is why I'm like this. And I was typing all this out, and then we started an NGO in India, and we started providing Medicare, Educare, and nutrition across India, southern and northeastern India. And when we started off, like Sir was saying, we found that so many obstacles were because of money being involved. So what we did was we did zero fundraising, and we eliminated the need for fundraising and donations. And we took a loan, and we said, let's start it out. And we wanted it to be a super specialty camp. And today we have seen 14,000 patients in the last 1 year, diagnosing heart diseases, cancers, neurological problems, and reaching out to very remote areas in Arunachal Pradesh. And when Sir was speaking, I remember Sir said about clothes, and I remember when we went to Arunachal and when we went to very remote districts in southern India, the first need that we saw was clothes and food. And when we started clothing people, we actually saw them being so confident. And when Sir spoke, I felt like he spoke of what I wanted to already speak. And that was something that we felt was so important at that time. And today, like when we give medicines for 2 months to all these patients and go again after every month and check them again and do echocardiograms and everything for them, the only thing that comes out of it is love. And when people ask us, how do you fund? And when we say, no, we don't do fundraising. We don't have people asking for donations. We don't have any such thing. They're shocked because we practice what is called sealing on desires, and it works this way. So you drink 4 soft drinks today, you make it 3 tomorrow, 2 day after, and you cut down on small things. And whatever you eat, like you eat rice, you keep a bowl of uncooked rice away every day. Keep a bowl of wheat away every day. It didn't work for us initially, but now about 100 families do it, and we are seeing how beautifully it impacts. And with absolutely no fundraising, we have been able to sustain. And what this goes to show is you don't need money, and all that you need is good intention, and all that you need is to work with selfless love, and that's all that matters. It's all about love, and that's where I would like to leave it. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.